Okay, let's get started. So welcome everyone. This is the CDF Technical Oversight Committee meeting. Today is February the 14th. My name is Andrea Frittoli. I work for IBM. So feel free to highlight your name in the participant list if you're in one of the existing lists, or add yourself into the other attendees list. And we have quite a few things on the agenda for today, so let's get started. Feel free to stop me at any time. All right, so action items from last meeting. First, Shipwright project representative. So I reached out to the Shipwright project, and we shall have a representative selected until the next TOC meeting. Oops, someone has some feedback. Okay. Next, for the TOC deputy chair discussion, we started last time. Tracy made a proposal, so thanks for that, Tracy. So the proposal for the new charter text is on the issue here. I don't know if folks have the chance to look at it. Basically, I just read it through, and maybe we can get an agreement on this, so we can move this forward. So the current text says the TOC representatives will elect a chair to preside over meetings, ensure minutes are taken, and drive the TOC agenda with input from the TOC representative, who will also serve as their TOC representative. At inception of the directed fund, and for an initial one-year term, the chair and TOC representative will be Kosuke Kawaguchi. So the inception part has been removed, and we have a new text added. The role of the deputy chair. So, sorry. TOC representative will elect chair and deputy chair, and the role of the deputy chair is to collaborate with and support the chair in all roles, including presiding over meetings, ensuring minutes are taken, and driving the TOC agenda at the request of the TOC chair.
I think it would be important to include governance board, because when we were discussing before, it wasn't clear how it would be implemented. But I think it would be important to understand whether co-chair would be actually given access to the governance documents, to the governance meetings, all the mailing lists, and in such a case, CDF charter would need an update. In this text, well, basically every TOC member can already do it to some extent, but there are governance formalities which are in upstream in entities of the foundation.
Yeah, I can go either way on that one, that comment, Oleg, because I think that the chair would probably be able to work it out, so they would be able to interact with the governing board and all the other pieces pretty easily. If they have a time conflict or something like that, that's usually pretty well sorted out. So I could go either way on that. If it would make it easier, I would say that we would just have the chair maintain those responsibilities at this point. And if we need to, down the road, we come into a situation where the deputy chair does need the same types of access, that we address it at that time.
Do we need to put verbiage in there, though, that just says something about the role of the chair is to preside over meetings, report to the governing board, ensure, and then repeat that for the deputy chair?
Well, since the text includes all roles, it's kind of implied even now. but yeah, I think that it would be important to either add it to the list if it's a case, or maybe if we agree that it's not a case, actually document the exceptions.
Oh, just to add to that, I think Oleg wrote something important here, because like the current text has the last part of like who will also serve as the TOC representative. The proposed text removes that part, which actually makes the governing board part of the charter invalid. Like I put the link to chat, Andrea, if you can open the charter. So if you search for TOC representative in the document, you will see what I mean. TOC representative. So TOC representative is member of the governing board.
Oh, I thought that
proposed
sounded
text-
redundant. We should just add that back in.
Yeah. If we
I
can
didn't-
add that back in, yeah.
Yeah, it sounded really redundant. If you let me, it sounded
So that
redundant and I
part-
didn't understand why that was there. It was like, well, if he's obviously a representative, if he's on the board, so. Let me go over to that.
We need to add that part after comma. The TOC chair is also TOC representative. Then it should match to the other parts of the charter.
Okay. That was just my that was a misunderstanding on my part to try to make it more consistent or more concise. I was like, isn't that redundant? Guess not. All right. Let me,
Maybe we can be even more explicit, like the TOC representative to CDF GB, because that part makes it more explicit.
I can't find that issue. Andrea, would you mind putting that issue in the chat?
Yeah. It's there.
Okay. So what we should need to do is we can just write another comment here and add back in. Who will also serve as the TOC representative. All right. Okay, the TOC will elect a chair and deputy. The TOC will elect a chair to preside over meetings, ensure minutes are taken and drive, who will also serve as a TOC. Okay. Okay, there it is now with that change, Fatih. And if it's not clear as to who is supposed to be the role of the deputy chair for the governing board, since I put in there all roles, but we can put including presiding over meetings, updating the governing board.
I think this looks good to me. It still says we start this way, and we can, perhaps think of broadening the role of deputy chair later on if we see the need.
Okay. Is this, does look okay for you, Oleg, as a starting point?
Yes, it is. Thanks.
Okay. Anyone against? Or anyone would like to have more time to think about it? Otherwise, we can, yeah, we can submit it to the legal for the change.
Should we make a motion and vote on it?
Yes, we can. How does that work?
I'll motion that the where is this in? It's the charter, right? I'll motion that the CDF charter be updated to include a TOC deputy chair with verbiage as defined in issue number.
161.
Yeah.
Seconded.
Thumbs up.
Now, Andrea, just call for a vote.
Okay. Thank you. So can we vote on it? Anyone in favor can say that yay?
Yay.
Yay.
Anyone opposed? Can say nay? No? Okay. I think
We
the
did
motion
it.
is
Yay, it's
passed.
done.
Thanks, everyone.
I'm proud of you all.
So the next step, as Andrea said, we will send this to legal for changes, and then it will come to board for approval in the
Yeah,
charter.
It's Fati's problem now. Thank you, Fati.
It's good that I think this, if I'm not mistaken, this is the first motion and vote in TOC live. Like, I might be mistaken. All the votes normally took place on the mail list. Oleg, do you remember any other vote like this?
Well, I wouldn't even support that. I believe that all voting either should take in offline channels or they do not exist. But yeah, given the consensus among almost every TOC member, I do not mind. But yeah, normally, at least in Jenkins, voting always takes place on the mailing list on another written channel.
Yeah, I think we're not in for the latest version of the text, that we discussed this over a couple of meetings. So hopefully everyone, members and non-members of the TOC, had an opportunity to raise any concern they might have with this proposal.
Yeah, maybe just mentioning it on Slack with pinging the TOC members who are not present, and that's it.
Is anyone not present today? I think everyone is present. I think everyone is present today. But yeah, I will. I can send an email and put it on Slack, so everyone is aware of the decision and it. All right, thanks everyone. Yeah, moving forward in the interest of time, one item we discussed last meeting was about the Azure subscription for Ortelius, and specifically the Ortelius website was affected. And I know that the Ortelius has been website, at least, is back online on Netlify, was online on Netlify at least after the meeting. I don't know if there is any other status update on that.
So yes, we are all set on Netlify with the website and the documentation. and our Azure subscription has been reinstated, but the Linux Foundation was still having issues with Microsoft on the invoicing part. But the Linux Foundation was going to figure that out with Microsoft, so we're good. Thank you, everybody, on the help with that.
Yeah, that's great. That this is solved. Thanks, Steve, for the update. Next, CDCon, GitOpsCon. Patty, you want to mention this?
Yeah, CFP was closed Friday last week, and the program committee has been reviewing the talks, and the schedule will be announced week of March 10, if I'm not mistaken. But more importantly, because we have project representatives here, we will have a demo theater and CDF booth there, and we will share a spreadsheet to sign up for demo theater, and demo theater will be located in the foyer together with the sponsor booths, and all the projects will get 15 minutes to present their projects, like either project updates or ask people to join and contribute to their projects. We will share that spreadsheet with outreach committee project representatives as well. So please make sure that your project gets a slot there to present the project. So this will not go through CFP. This will directly be reviewed by the program committee and most likely will be approved, assuming it is a project presentation. So whenever you get that email, please sign up to spreadsheet, because slots will be first come, first served. Booth will be similar to previous year's CDCon, so we will need volunteers to, work with the booth, talk about their project, talk about their, talk about CDF, and represent our community. And again, the time slots will be given first come, first served. And finally, we are working on identifying logistics for the project summits. Unfortunately, we have 2 days for the event, and we are trying to find slots for projects so they can meet with their maintainers, contributors, and have an hour or two discussions about their project. And it will be similar. Spreadsheet will be shared, and first come, first serve for that one as well. But yeah, more information TBD, hopefully in a week or two, once we have the provision schedule worked out, maybe.
Do we have a forecast about the number of participants, number of sponsors, and the size of the conference?
In the sponsorship prospectus, the number there is 500 plus for attendees. And for sponsors, I don't exactly remember how many platinum, gold, startup sponsors, but maybe I can put the sponsorship prospectus so you can check the expected number of participants.
The JavaScript part, so the collocated event. No, it's not JavaScript.
This is GitOpsCon and CDCon together.
Yeah, so 500. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So that is CDCon, GitOpsCon. Again, more information will be available maybe beginning of March once the provision schedule is available.
Yeah, because well, it's quite important because the budgets are tight, and for example, I know the teams struggle to secure budgets even for key conferences like KubeCon and FOSDEM from some of the vendors participating in the Jenkins community. So this is why I asked to see whether we could secure something quickly. Thanks.
Next topic, or any other question on CDCon and GitOpsCon? Okay, Fatih, do you want to mention the CD?
Yeah, quickly.
Awards?
Yeah, I'm sure you have seen on the Slack channel, the awards nominations are open. And if you click that link, you will get 4 issues there. Please nominate the community members who are doing good work within CDF. And these are only CDF awards. And for project awards, the projects are running those awards processes themselves, and they will probably have similar issues in corresponding repositories within project GitHub organizations. So this The other important part about CDF awards is like end user company nominations will be done via a Google form. So we will be sending a Google form to TOC members, and please nominate end user companies via that form. And the last point, in the past, it wasn't clear who will be voting for CDF awards. Now this year, the voting will be done by technical site committee members, outreach committee members, and project representatives. So we know who will be voting for the awards. And you will get another Google form to cast your vote for the winners. So that is awards. And the next topic is actually related to this one. We need volunteers to help us running the awards as well as elections. And if anyone volunteers to become awards officer or election officer, just either you can state your interest during this meeting or reach out to me on Slack. So you help us to check the nominations, check the election results, and if someone comes and asks if these awards process or election process run according to the process we document, then hopefully you can help us with that, because you'll be part of reviewing nominations and election and awards results.
Thanks, Fatih. What is the deadline for that, for having those?
For elections, we have some time. I think the next election will happen in April. So maybe by, let me quickly check the award deadline to nominations. So the nominations will be closed March. So if we can have this settled by February 28th, next TOC meeting, that would be awesome. Then we can include the officers in corresponding mail lists. And this is very light role, because we are running the awards and elections processes. So this person or persons will ensure the sanctity of the process, awards and elections, and oversee the awards and elections processes are run by the book.
Okay, thanks. Any question on this? All right, moving forward in the interest of time. So we have a presentation today. Our speaker is Christopher Robinson. Thank you for joining us today. Is that a good time for you to present? Perfect. So I will stop sharing so that you may share if you would like to.
I would love to. Can you see me and see my screen and hear me?
Yes.
That sounds great.
Well.
Excellent. Well, thank you for the opportunity to come talk to you today. My name is Chris Robinson, aka Krobe. I work with the Open Source Security Foundation on numerous working groups and SIGs, and I'm part of their technical advisory committee. And I'm here today at the request of Tracy, where she said that you folks are going through some parallel efforts. And she thinks that some of these topics I share today may be inspiring to this group. So I'm going to talk about the Diagrammers Society. It is a group of volunteers that are part of the OpenSSF, and we're trying to solve one core problem. It's difficult to know what the OpenSSF is about, what it's doing, and how to participate. So a group of us got together and we started talking about this problem, and we presented a series of proposed diagrams or views, ways to represent our foundation, all the activities, and trying to show how everything operates together as part of our foundation. First thing we realized is that no one view is going to address all of the viewpoints. We've shown this to several groups within the foundation, and each group has a slightly different perspective. They want different things, would like to see slightly different information. So we decided at the end of the day, we're going to need to produce multiple pictures, multiple diagrams with which to kind of illustrate how the foundation is set up, how we operate, and how our different pieces work together. So I'm sharing with you, these will be a series of preliminary pictures, mock-ups, that as my constituents find value in, we're going to go forth and refine just a handful of these. First off, and this is the view our governing board liked a lot. This is a hierarchy view. So anyone that works in a big company understands what an organizational chart is. So this kind of mocks that up. So at the top of the foundation is our governing board, our technical advisory committee, and then below that you have all of our working groups and SIGs, and we have a concept called associated projects. So a view like this just kind of very tactically shows structurally how we're organized. And ideally the final diagram, so as a viewer might look at this diagram and then maybe they click on the TAC and it would show more information about the working groups. So if somebody cared about what the security tooling group is doing, you could potentially hover over or click on this and it would expand to show relevant information about the security tooling working group. Another view that actually appealed to our end user group and some of the developers we've shown is called bubbles. Essentially, we would pick some type of iconography, a circle, and that represents our working groups. And we would show all the activities inside each working group. So you'll see that there are multiple projects, initiatives, and special interest groups inside each of the working groups. And then using colors or location, we can show that maybe there's a affinity or a working relationship between the vulnerability disclosures group and the end users group. So we might want to move those two bubbles together. And then also with colors, you can show the maturity or what stage the life cycle these different efforts are in. But this is a potential way you can represent the work of the foundation. Another one, which received quite a lot of interest and we think might be of interest to this group, is by picking a specific type of process. And in this view, we picked a CI/CD pipeline, and we laid over top of that generic pipeline all of the working groups and SIGs and projects and initiatives. And basically, most developers can relate to what CI/CD is, how it functions, and now they can take a look at, I'm in the build phase, so to speak, of my work today, and you can see that web application definition from the tooling group is relevant, potentially the All-Stars project, and maybe Salsa are relevant to that particular stage of the life cycle. So you can kind of take a look using that process as the metaphor to show where to get more information. Another view is picking a software development lifecycle circle. And this particular view, you could show the simple circle and show basically using a generic SDL, here are how our working groups line up. And then potentially as you hovered over any one of these bubbles inside the circle, it would blow out this view to show you more information about like the securing software repos working group, for example, if you were hovering over here. And this one, see if people understand what SDLC is, has received some good comments. And as I mentioned, all of these diagrams are draft. And one of the final steps is we need to go through and make sure that this matches user accessibility requirements. So if we had anyone that was colorblind or had special needs around graphics, we will make sure that we accommodate those types of viewers. But basically, we're just trying to illustrate with a quick and dirty diagram to show the theater of the potential. Another process you could take that my drawing tool failed me on is a DevSecOps infinity loop. So a technique you can use is what's called race tracking. So you could take that DevSecOps pipeline, and there's 7 main stages or phases of that pipeline, and then you can take smaller arrows within that diagram and illustrate what working groups are relevant. So for example, we feel the best practices working group is relevant across all stages of a DevSecOps lifecycle, where the vulnerability disclosure working group potentially may only be relevant to people that are focused on release, configure, and monitor, as an example. Another view, and this is what our TAC is probably going to leverage as we're going through and ensuring the consistency of our working groups, is something called a mind map. So we loaded our foundation information into a tool, and this becomes very dense very quickly, where there's a lot of information you have to drill down to kind of see, but you can show relationships, you can tag things using mind map, you can show affiliations. And we noticed when we went through this exercise that we had, for example, we had several working groups that hadn't finished approving their charter, or several working groups that didn't have a README landing page. So this tactically is helping us march through the foundation to understand where we operationally need to get things consistent, so our members and external parties can, get that consistent experience across all of our projects. Another view that potentially could be used is using personas. So we picked open source developer, and as an open source developer, they have a couple problems we felt from a security perspective they would need some assistance with. They want to understand how to write more secure code. Well, if that's the case, then we would route them towards the best practices working group. Or if they care about scanning their code, we have a tooling working group. We also have 2 projects, scorecards and all stars, that are relevant to that particular activity. So if our constituents found value in this type of diagram, we could curate a list of personas and then start to work on user stories, and then show how our efforts map to and help solve those particular problems. The next viewpoint we showed was we have our TAC has a vision statement that has 4 areas. So we felt that might be interesting to show the vision and then start to align our different work groups and projects and SIGs and everything to those particular elements of the vision. So if someone was coming in from like our TAC landing page and they saw the vision, they could click and be able to be routed towards these particular things that support those components of the vision. A new one we just added, and many of the Linux Foundation projects have something like this. It's called Landscape. Anyone from the United States that is familiar with NASCAR racing, the cars will have a series of stickers from the sponsors. So we also call this stickers. So we divided the work up into 3 categories: plan, build, and run. Any of the categories, people could pick any category they wanted to, but we just use this for the example. And then we showed that our development best practices working group is aligned with the plan ideas, and also our identifying security threats and the Diagrammer Society, all kind of aligned towards planning. And then we can show the project badges, the emblems of each of those, and then allow someone, if a viewer is interested in learning about the concise guides, they could click that and be directly routed to that information on the foundation landing page. And then we did that same mapping for the build and run. So this is something that's widely used, that we got a lot of positive response on this particular diagram. So this is probably one of the ones we'll use moving forward. And then the one I didn't have time to get to is another very common concept, is the trail map, where a metaphor is used, and in this case, a map, like someone's traveling and they're going on a journey. So we could take that similar thing for our foundation, is we figure out what are the highest value projects or working groups that help plot that journey on the map, and then hire a designer to draw the map and throw everything out there. So hopefully this is of interest to you all, and that's the end of my presentation. I'd be glad to answer any questions, respond to anything, any feedback you might have.
That was brilliant. Thanks, Chris.
You're very welcome.
I do have one question. So is the idea to have the data all the information stored in some machine readable format and then generate this diagram out of it?
Well, from an operational standpoint, we would love to like throw this information into a YAML file and have something automatically plot it. Unfortunately, those types of tools are very useful for like the landscape or the hierarchy, but don't lend themselves to some of the other design formats. So yes, we would like that, like to have that machine readable, but we're thinking about leveraging these diagrams on our landing pages, our TAC web page, and then also in the foundation literature like training, conference presentations, that type of stuff. But yeah, if we can automate it, we'd like that. But some of these things we might have like a trail map. We probably have to hire a professional artist to draw it, and that doesn't lend itself necessarily as well to automation.
Yeah, absolutely. I understand. Yeah, I was thinking along the lines of if we build some of these diagrams, well, maybe not the trail map, but we build some like hierarchical diagram or somewhere the structure of the foundation, the project and so forth is done. And when we have a new project or we have a new SIG or new people coming in or out, so we'll need to update those. So I was trying to understand whether that's something that would go and hire some designer every time we need to do an update, or is there like tools we can use to do it ourselves? Or
the hierarchy is very simple and can be done with open source tools. And then I can track back on our notes and just give that to Tracy. There's several tools that are available. That's very easy if that view is appealing. And then the Linux Foundation owns a tool that does this landscaping. So you just need to decide like the categories, the three big horizontal stripes, and then you can very easily plot those things in there. And that lends itself to pretty simple maintenance going forward. You just need to get the graphics.
all right, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions or comments?
Another question, would you be able to share the slides with the crew?
I did. I posted a link in your in the meeting notes, and I will
perfect.
I'll provide the URL here in the chat.
You're way ahead of me. Thanks.
You're very welcome. And all these diagrams are listed, up in our GitHub repository. So if you wanted to review a particular one, you can go to our repo and look at it and kind of zoom in. The mind map especially, because that is just virtually unreadable on the page. But when you actually open it up with a mind map tool, it's pretty powerful. Hopefully this was inspiring for you all, and you can find some way to represent yourselves through something like this.
One question, would you foresee some of this overlapping between the OpenSSF and the CDF?
Possibly, especially things like our supply chain groups, or maybe like developer best practices. There's probably some really good knowledge that you all have that directly relates to some of our work.
Yeah, because
we're focused on security, not necessarily the development process, but
right. Because we do have like best practices on our side and stuff like that. So that's why I was curious if this could be extended to expand.
Absolutely. Yeah. Once we pick a model, and so if we showed our best practices, we could some represent other foundations that have related information. Like we work a lot with the CNCF,
right,
and the larger LF. And I think the CDF would be very easy to kind of plug in. Hey, if you care about best practices, here's how to secure it. But then if you want to know how to specifically, operationally configure your pipeline, or how to do secure containers in the cloud, here's our other friends that do these activities.
Right. Okay, cool. Thanks.
You're welcome. I really appreciate your time. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out afterwards, or leave a comment in our repo. We have issues and PRs that you could file if you want any more information or need help.
All right. Yeah, thanks again, Chris, for your time. And if there are no more questions, then we can continue with the agenda. Okay. Yeah. So next item briefly, SIG updates. I just wanted to share this bit in the current documentation for SIGs. We have documented that we expect updates from SIGs to the TOC mailing list at least quarterly. And I don't think this is happening today. So I was going to propose that we kind of resume our quarterly updates from SIG, and we could do it from the mailing list or in the form of the presentation to the TOC, or both, possibly. So yeah, so that we are up to date with what every SIG is up to. We have that information. Possibly we can include it in a very nice diagram. And yeah, we can also decide. We can see we have more information to decide whether SIG should maybe be I don't know, collapse together, or we need a new SIG, a new working group, or SIG is not active anymore, and so forth. So we can take informed decision on that. And yeah, so I was going to send out maybe emails to the SIG chairs, informing about this, and trying to set up a schedule for updates, similar to what I started setting up for project updates. Okay, but let me know if you have any thoughts on this. Any concern? And otherwise I will go ahead.
The only thing I would say is once we get time slots coming in from the different SIGs, that if there's some way we could update the shared calendar so folks know when somebody's going to be presenting. I don't know if that's going to be possible because of the way the calendar, it's kind of generic.
No, but that's I think it's a really good idea, Steve. I'll check whether it's possible to make individual updates to the events.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Thanks, Steve.
A question about sponsors for the SIGs. Like, I don't think our sponsor for the interoperability SIG, for example, is part of the TOC anymore. So who would it be, just be one of the chairs or something that provides the updates? Instead?
That's a great question, Melissa. Thanks. I forgot to mention that, and I also noticed that I don't think we tracked information about who the sponsor is, and for sure we don't update the sponsor when the sponsor leaves the TOC. So according to our current charter, there must be a sponsor, and the sponsor is kind of responsible for owning this kind of activity, making sure there is an update and sent to the TOC, helping scheduling the presentation.
Yeah, I guess we don't have a good process in place for updating a sponsor, do we?
I don't think we have. Does anyone want to take a stab at this? Maybe making a proposal for this. I think we can keep it pretty lightweight. Maybe we can, in the next meeting, ask for volunteers, make sure that every SIG has a sponsor.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. So you can add interoperability SIG immediately to that group. We need to update ours for sure.
I think SIG events is probably in the same situation. All right.
I can check the others, Andrea, and add them to this list if we need.
Thanks, Melissa. And I guess related to this, about SIG security and SIG Chinese localization, Fatih, you wanted to cover these, or you want me to?
The 6 security and 6 Chinese localization, those ones, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. So I think this topic came up during the SIG software supply chain meeting last week. There was some confusion around like what happened to SIG security and so on. And I remember this like SIG security was discussed in the past, but there wasn't an official decision to archive the SIG. And if you check the TOC repo, you will notice one of the documents say SIG security is archived and the other documents say SIG security is still current SIG. So the question here about SIG security is like, should we have a clear decision within the TOC captured in the minutes to archive the SIG security so we can update the documentation and perhaps archive the repos and archive the Slack channel? Because sometimes some people show up in the Slack channel saying, hi, no one is responding because they are not aware the SIG is archived. And the SIG Chinese localization is similar situation. I don't remember when was the last time we heard back from that SIG. It looks like the SIG is not active, so we may want to archive that SIG as well officially to, you know, make sure people don't think no one cares their highs and hellos.
Thanks, Fatih. Yeah, I think we have a reduced group now, but I can send this also over the mailing list. Give it a deadline for next meeting, and then we can proceed with the archival. It makes sense. All right, I'll take that as a yes, and I'll send the email. Okay. So quickly, last few minutes, last couple of things I wanted to mention. In terms of project updates, we discussed in the past, we should have presentation from the different projects on a regular basis. So to manage that, I set up a table here in the meeting notes on the top, and with some space for a monthly presentation. So it would be every other meeting, every other TOC meeting from the different projects. So we had the first presentation on city events was December 2022 that I gave, and I put the link to the slides. We had a presentation scheduled already by Christy for Tecton in specifically for the area of Salsa, Tecton and Salsa. Christy asked me whether it would be all right to do updates also on specific areas of a project, which I think it makes sense because we have a lot of possible slots projects to present. And we have another presentation scheduled for city events and one for JenkiNext. And yeah, I'll keep asking project representatives here and on Slack to please add themselves to the schedule. So that we can have a regular stream of presentations. And I can do the same as Steve asked to add them to the calendar. And the other thing about project updates I wanted to mention is that I started setting up a project on GitHub to track the work that we do for integrating CD events in different tools. So this is a follow-up to the topic that Robert brought up about the importance of integrating CD events in tools. So I got a tab for Jenkins, Nginx, Vinegar, Techman, and so forth. So we can see in every tab what are the activities that are going on, and what are the dependency on CD event side, and what are the external tasks that are being implemented. Like for Spinnaker here, you can find the link to the RSC, which has been worked on. Okay, I think the last item would be a review of the roadmap. We only have 4 minutes left. So I don't know if we can get much progress on that. So maybe I'll just open the floor for any other update or question or comments on the attendees. All right, sounds like that's all for today, but thanks everyone for joining. Good to see everyone, and see you not earlier in a couple of weeks. 28th of February is our next meeting. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.
Thanks, Andrea.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.